KWSM, a digital marketing agency, and I'm joined by Lila and Ivana, who are both on our content team. And we, first of all, Happy New Year. I'm sure everyone is done with the Happy New Year sayings, but I like to say it anyways. It's still January, right?
Yeah, sure. You can do it for the whole month.
Hopefully your New Year's resolutions are holding strong and things are going well. So we've got some exciting things we're going to talk about today. We're talking about some interesting news. We've got Instagram talking about direct messaging on the desktop app. We've got Facebook notifying you if you can, if your third-party logins. And then LinkedIn actually has 3 new features that are pretty cool. I'm really excited about these features, which can't be said for most of the features that social media platforms roll out. Mm-hmm. Additionally, Ivana, you're going to be talking about press releases and when you should send a press release, and maybe sometimes when you think you should, but maybe you shouldn't. Mm-hmm. So that's good. And then Lila, she's going to be talking about the best way to write a Twitter bio, which is surprisingly difficult because you don't have very long to write, right? And so, let's start off within the news. So Instagram, so they are rolling out testing direct messaging on their desktop app, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about this?
When I first read that, I mean, honestly, I don't really go onto the desktop to go onto Instagram, even with like my clients or for personal use. So, I mean, I don't think it's really going to make a difference. I think it would only be beneficial if they also let us post on desktops. Then we have like full functionality of all the features that Instagram offers on mobile and desktop the same. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it really makes a difference for me.
Yeah.
So one of my clients was lucky enough to be among the testing group, so I was able to use the functionality, and I think for personal it wouldn't affect my usage a whole lot, like you were saying about it. But I think for a business, it's really helpful because you do a lot of your emailing and other administrative tasks on your computer. So to be able to also follow up and be available on desktop, I think is just convenient. I've seen that generally Instagram has become more like a customer service platform, and so if you can respond to your support emails on your desktop and then navigate to Instagram and do the same there, I think it would improve response time as a business. It would therefore like make your customers more satisfied overall. So I think it's a strategic move for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting because, there's always going to be the haters out there. They're going to say, no, the purists, right? Instagram is like a mobile app, right? Yeah. But I also think you have to understand, everyone has to understand that the demographic of who uses Instagram is getting older, right? And so it started with who are basically 18 to 24, mostly on their phones. Those people are now, Instagram's been out here for almost 10 years, right? And so it's like, those people are now much older, right? And are probably sitting at their computer more frequently. And so I sort of see it as it's evolving with the time, but I also see it as Facebook is taking over and sort of just turning it into Facebook a little bit.
I was actually thinking that too.
And like, honestly, when I think about Facebook and Instagram, they're really becoming very similar in a lot of ways because they all have almost the same features. And so it'll be interesting to see how they continue to roll this out and what they continue to give as features on the desktop app, because I think that they run a very high risk of like people just being like, well, I'll just give up on Facebook because I'd rather use Instagram and it's the same experience, as opposed to one being very different than the other. Yeah. So I don't know, it'll be interesting. I agree with you from a business standpoint. It would make it way easier because you're already on your computer doing most of that stuff anyways, and so that could be interesting. But we'll see, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Time will tell. Okay, so let's talk about security a little bit. Facebook, right? They had the huge security breach. Obviously, everyone is aware of that. There was some congressional hearings with Mark Zuckerberg and things like that. And so a new thing that they've been rolling out is notification of your third-party app logins. And so what this is saying is basically if you use Facebook your Facebook login to log into something other than Facebook, because there's like all these integrations that say sign up with Facebook, sign up with Twitter, whatever. If you do that, then Facebook is going to start notifying you of all of those places that you've used it to log in.
I think that's good. I mean,
right?
I actually just saw that with I link my Facebook with my Spotify, and so my Facebook friends, I can have them on Spotify as well. And I just linked it and I got the notification, and I think that's good. I mean, Facebook also has that feature where you can go to your settings and you can see exactly the locations and where you logged in and what type of device. And that's also good just for security reasons. And so I think having that third party, just that extra measure of security is beneficial for people.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Lila?
And as I understand it, this has always been a very transparent thing that Facebook has had. You just have to really dig into your settings to figure out what third-party applications you're linked to. And I think over the years, have probably been a little bit too lazy too often. And now my Facebook login, if that were to ever become breached, they have access to many of my apps. And so vice versa, maybe, I'm not sure how it works from a technical standpoint, but if one of those apps becomes breached, I wonder if that could then also release access to my Facebook. So that one is a little frightening to me, and I think I just created some homework for myself after this to go check all my apps.
That's a good question for Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook, please let us know in the comments below.
Yeah. So anyway, so keep it, that's a great question. So keep a lookout for that stuff. As always, use like very secure passwords. We always recommend that. Try to switch up your passwords for different accounts. So if someone hacks one account and gets your password, they can't use it across others. But this is an added security feature that Facebook is rolling out, which I think any of those generally are a good thing. All right, well, let's move on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is adding a lot of new features right now, and I'm actually really excited about these. And so they've released 3 new features recently, and so we're going to go through these. So the first one, it allows you, let's say you have a personal profile and you have a business page. Now, before if you're on your personal profile in your homepage, you would be able to post there, but to post your business page, you had to go to the business page and post there. Now they're allowing you to post from that homepage and toggle between whether you're posting as yourself or as one of your business pages. And so for us, this is fantastic because if we manage multiple accounts and LinkedIn pages, this is very easy. But also for just someone who has a profile and a single business page, I think it's a great benefit, right? And it's an easy feature for them to add. I think it adds just a lot of ease of use.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm the boot camp teacher here of LinkedIn, and I do find like small business owners that are just getting familiar with LinkedIn, it like the company page is very tucked away, and if you're supposed to post there 3 times a week, it just becomes really time consuming, and it can also become more confusing. So I think for everyone who is just starting out with LinkedIn, this will all of a sudden promote the ability to do it a little easier. So I'm guessing that the amount of posting will go up, which I think is a good thing for everyone on LinkedIn.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a cool feature. Another feature that they're rolling out is LinkedIn Live. So we're doing Facebook Live. There's a lot of platforms that offer live streaming capabilities. So now they're doing LinkedIn Live. And this to me, I actually got a notification on my phone. Someone, like one of my connections went live, and it like straight up just pinged me with that notification. So I think this is actually right now this very small window probably where not a lot of people are using it, where if you went live on LinkedIn, you could actually probably get a lot of more views and engagement that way. And they're saying up to 7 times more than normal is kind of what people are seeing right now. And so I think if this is something that people could probably take advantage of. So maybe for a couple weeks we'll switch to LinkedIn Live or Facebook Live. Or have 2 going or something. Like,
we can have 2.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So
I like this feature. I think LinkedIn, as far as on a business standpoint, it's kind of hard to reach a lot of people. Usually, people are connecting with other people, and so when you post on your personal, you're more likely to share with a lot more people than you are with your business. And so I think having a live video on your business page is like really beneficial. I think you're able to reach a lot more people, and people like video better anyway. They gravitate towards it. It's very eye-catching. So having things like if your business is at a conference or a trade show or you're doing a presentation, something like our Facebook boot camp or any of the social boot camps, I think that would be really good.
Yeah, you bring up some good ideas too. Like I could see a lot of our clients and even us, like when you are on the ground and you're at a conference, it's been kind of hard in the past to say, okay, I'll take a photo of this and then write a whole story about it. Now you can just, while your booth is packed, just take a short little video, show everyone what you're doing out there, and it'll probably draw in a lot more attention.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is a cool feature, and one that if you can utilize the right way, I think it would really be beneficial. But do it sooner rather than later, so you can get on sort of that first wave of users. And then the last feature that they rolled out is they're actually making it easier to grow your following on your LinkedIn company page. And so, man, maybe it was like a year or two ago, LinkedIn pulled a lot of the features away from that company page and made it like you could almost do nothing with it except for post your information and then run ads to it. That was basically all you could do. And now I think they're seeing that maybe it was too limited, and so they're allowing you to invite your followers to actually, or your connections to actually follow the page, right? Which is a cool feature. They're limiting it to 50 invites per day, and so you can't go crazy. But I think if you spent, a couple of weeks and just went through all your connections and invited them, and anyone at your company went through all their connections and invited them, I think it's a great way to attract people to get to their company page.
I like that, because I think, when you're connected to someone on LinkedIn, you're obviously interested in what they do for a living, so inviting them, it just gives them more insight, more education on what you guys do. So I think that's good.
Yeah, and if your company is posting different content than what you're posting, your connections aren't seeing that unless you're sharing it. But if you're not, then this is a way that they can be seeing that content as well. So I think that's a great feature. Super easy. I saw it pop up on mine not too long ago, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's literally just like a couple clicks and you can start inviting your connections. So those are some of the new things that are in the news right now. And so Ivana, why don't we talk about press releases, right? And now press releases isn't something that we talk a whole lot about here, because we usually focus more on the social media and stuff. But press releases are really important, and we do a lot of them for our clients because it ties so well into what we do to complement our services. So tell us, when should a business send a press release?
All right, so press releases in general, what they really do is just help us disperse information to a large audience, multiple media outlets and things like that online. And really, this could be useful for big and small companies. The frequency of how many times you send out a press release could really depend on your organization size, the industry, and your particular needs. But there are different reasons when you should send one out, and so I have 3 here. One of them is big news, and so the biggest thing as far as press releases is it newsworthy? So if you have something like you guys opened a new location, or your company is entering a new partnership, or maybe you acquired a company, or something like that, maybe even filling a high position, so say you have a new CEO or something like that, that is press release worthy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think what you're saying, like, is it newsworthy? Because I think people say, oh, I'll send out a press release, but you really got to think, is this something that a news organization might actually pick up?
Exactly. That's the big question here in general, is if you're thinking about releasing one, ask yourself, is it newsworthy? But those are some little examples of why you would.
Yeah. And maybe a way to do that with yourself is like, are you excited to tell the people in your networking group, like, my company recently did this? If that's the case, it's probably a press release.
Exactly. All right, a second option is upcoming events. So if your organization hosts any events, maybe something like we do social media boot camp, we would send out a press release for that. Maybe you're putting on a big conference or something like that. Any type of event that you want a lot of people to go to or to know about, to RSVP, you should definitely send out a press release, and with enough time in advance for them to get it, understand what the event is, and be able to RSVP, plan for it, and actually go.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. I know that we've done that for some events for our people, right? But I also think it's not just events you're hosting, but maybe even like if you're going to be attending like a large conference, right? Yeah. I know that recently here in Southern California there was the NAMM show, and then obviously Vegas was CES, right? And so a lot of times we'll see companies who've done this is send out press releases to say we will be here, right? We will be at this booth. Come visit us. Here's why we will be there. Here's what we're going to be rolling out, etc. So.
Yeah, I really think it's for bigger scale events, not just like, oh, we have a holiday party or something. You wouldn't want to put it for that. Something that you want a lot of people to know about.
Yeah, and one other point to add to what you guys are saying, when you do plan on attending, let's say like CES, or maybe a more obscure like more niche conference would make more sense for this. But if you release a press release a few months in advance or a few weeks in advance, that particular article is going to be higher up in the search results.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are starting to get everything together and they're starting to research this conference to decide whether they want to go or not, or to decide what they're going to be looking for when they get there, by that time your press release has had time to sort of mature in the Google search results, and so it'll be very likely that they'll stumble across your news of you attending that conference, and that's a way to get your foot in the door and to look like a thought leader and someone in the space who they wouldn't want to miss when they go.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Really good point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And the last one is product launches, so, or even services. So if you have a new product or a new service that you're rolling out, a press release is a good way to kind of share that with your audience. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that goes in kind of hand in hand with like these conferences, because like if you're at CES, a lot of people will release their new products or their future products there, so that could be part of that.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
Yeah. And maybe it might make sense to have your product release be released during the conference, so that that's being picked up in the media while you're presenting it to other people.
Yeah, and you can also send out that press release. So say you release your new product at CES, you can do that press release a few days later and say, hey, we launched this whole new product at CES and yada yada yada. You know, it doesn't have to be before.
Yeah,
Just
that makes sense.
Sharing the news in general.
So those are great ways for when you should do a press release. What are some times when maybe like you shouldn't do a press release, even if it seems like it might be a good idea? Yeah.
So again, the biggest question to ask yourself is it newsworthy? So if it's something small, maybe something internal, we highly suggest not to. So, one example is launching a new website. So obviously that's very exciting news if you have a new website, a new look on your online platform, but it's not necessarily newsworthy. And that's definitely a reason not to send a press release. I know some people do that, but yeah, that'd be one that probably shouldn't be sending one out to everyone.
Right, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people launch websites every day. It's not really anything new for the public to consume, other than it's just a new look that you have, right? Which is great. I mean, it's an exciting thing, but probably not something to send a press release for. Makes sense?
Another one is new hires, and so when you're hiring up or when you have a new hire for something, a position higher up like a CEO or something, definitely worthy for a press release. But if you just have, if you're hiring a lot, a bunch of new hires, maybe like an intern or something, not very newsworthy, and so we suggest not to send press releases for that situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then another one is if you have, so this one would be more of like a blog, so thoughts on a current event that doesn't really directly relate to your company's mission. Maybe if you're like the owner or the president of your company is, talking about their opinion on a certain topic, or maybe a news, some news event that came out and they want to talk about their opinion, that would be more of a blog. That wouldn't really be something newsworthy for everyone to know about.
Yeah. Is that so more of like an opinion piece as opposed to like
anything really
something
opinionated.
Yeah,
it should be more about like facts.
Yeah, and it's something to keep in mind too. If you go through like a lot of these press release distribution companies, if you pay to have them distributed, they're going to review most of those and make sure they match their guidelines. And so sometimes they'll kick them back to say, okay, you need to cite these sources, or it's to this or to that or whatever. And so if you're new to it, they will give you some guidance, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, those platforms are there to make money, right? And so they'll give you some guidance as long as it gets sent out. It doesn't mean that by sending it out, it's going to be picked up or do what you want it to do.
Right.
So that's definitely where it helps to work with a company that's experienced with it.
Yeah. And then just one last thought about press releases. So another reason that you shouldn't is if you had just sent one out, you should probably wait maybe 5 days to a week before sending another one out. Sending them right after another isn't very successful, and so I'm sure there's a lot of great news to tell everyone, but you have to be patient and send them out slowly.
Yeah. All right.
Or if you do send out, like you absolutely have to send out these 2 stories at the same time, like consider if there's maybe a different audience, right? Like if you have 2 sides of the business, or you're releasing a product and you're going to a conference, like maybe that's a way to
Yeah,
work
you
around it. I don't
distribute
know.
it
I
differently.
just thought,
Yeah.
food for thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure.
But yeah, the big question to ask yourself is really, is it newsworthy?
Cool. Thank you, Ivana. That's super helpful.
Of course.
So definitely keep those tips in mind if you are sending press releases or considering to send press releases. Lila, let's talk about Twitter.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Twitter bio specifically, right? Because Twitter is all about being short and sweet, right?
Yes.
Or short and nasty, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
But short and sweet for sure. And so let's talk about writing your bio. What are some good tips for writing a successful bio that's going to help
Yeah.
you or your business out?
So I'm going to be covering 5 tips.
Oh, okay.
So we have a whole lot to cover.
Got it.
But really, just to take a step back, Twitter is a very popular platform as of late. As you said, it's really real time. In an average day, there's about 145 million active users engaging on the platform. And so if you play your cards right and you have the right bio, it's very easy to become discovered. And also, if you are actively tweeting on, you have the potential to be retweeted, and then you're blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really back at home base, regardless of what you're tweeting or who you're engaging with. This is your profile. And so there's just a couple of best practices that we've come across managing multiple Twitter accounts, and also just to be able to make sure that you are noticed. And so it's really all about identifying your company's personality. There's these 5 tips are not set in stone ground rules, but you should use them as they apply to you. So the first step is to set the mood. So
And a lot of brands are known for being a little risky on Twitter. So if you're a brand like Wendy's, who is very risky on Twitter, and they say some crazy things, you wouldn't think that their bio is going to be just like very professional and to the point. You'd want to have like a fluid motion of your bio kind of resembling what your brand voice is on your tweets.
definitely, yeah. Throw some personality in there.
Yeah.
If you have a brand
You might as well. I
personality.
mean, they're going to see your crazy tweets, then your bio should kind of coincide with that too.
I agree with you. Yeah, you don't want to like say one thing like we're this professional company, and then all of a sudden what you're tweeting like
It's
like
insane,
clapbacks and stuff like
Yeah.
that to a bunch of people, right? And
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, good. So we got to set the mood. I like that.
Yes.
All right.
So the second one is to give yourself some space. So as we talked about earlier, you have a very small amount of characters. For the bio, it's only 160 characters that you're working with. And so research studies from Hootsuite actually showed that longer bios result in having more supporters or followers. So try to use all of the space that you have given to you, and take this opportunity to give the reader something to be curious about. Provide them a reason to want to follow you, and you use that space.
All right. Now that makes a lot of sense because you've got characters, which in the long run is not very much space at all.
It's not.
So use it because you're never going to be long-winded,
Yeah.
right?
I also think with Twitter, if you're on someone else's account, they always have the options of who to follow. They give you like 3 profiles that they suggest you to follow as well. And within that little box, it includes the bio. So having that in there, I think, is important because even if people aren't going onto your profile directly, they might see it in their suggested.
Yeah.
So having like a good bio and something that's captivating, I think, is important.
Yeah, and definitely, like, because you only have a few characters, maybe take some of the rules that apply to marketing and have a call to action. Provide a reason why they should go ahead and click on your profile and start reading your tweets. The next one is to humbly brag. And so we just had a really big conversation about press releases. If you do happen to get picked up by a big publication, or your company was, the number 1 places to work, or you are professional and you've been featured in certain places, be sure to show that off, because having big names or showing that you have some sort of award or recognition can be a good way to establish your credibility.
Yeah, I think also like a lot of the companies on Twitter, they network through if they're going to like a trade show or something. So we can use the CES example again. So say the CEO of your company is going to be speaking at CES. It's a good reason to put that in your bio, and you can hashtag CES and that will show up in the relevant hashtag. So even having that in there, I think would be good.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this coincides with things like on websites we always recommend putting like logos on your website and testimonials and like something to like show that you are credible. And I think that's what you're saying. It's saying do something to show that you are credible,
Yes.
right? And so I see a lot of like award winning or featured in Inc. Or like things like that in bios. And those are the ways that people you can throw something in really quick and people instantly are like, oh, this company's not just here, it's up just a little bit, right?
And even for your personal profiles, there's also something you can do to tag, you are the CEO of your company. So that way you bring people back to that company page and show your authority as a person in the field.
Yeah.
And so you kind of stole the next one here, Ivana. But make sure that you are using a hashtag or tagging people. If you are trying to start a trend, like let's say you have, you're going to a conference, or you are trying to start some sort of contest among your consumers, or as a business you like to have a business hashtag, putting that in your bio is a really quick and easy way to tap into the search traffic for that hashtag. They do, I've seen a variety of bios, some use a little bit more, but we generally like to recommend only using one hashtag. So if you are attending a conference, it's a timely bio where you'll just have that hashtag up for a few weeks, and then once the conference is over with, you can switch it back to maybe your company hashtag.
Yeah, I think that one's super important because Twitter is so event heavy. Everyone is on there talking about whatever event they're at. They're live tweeting the whole time, and so it's super important. So if you are going to something, having that hashtag in there would be really beneficial, I think.
Totally agree.
Good. Yeah, and then the fifth point is to speak their language, and by there we mean your customers, your clients. What are they tweeting and researching, and how do they phrase your products and your services, so that you're not just listing off the way that your product is called within your company, but use the industry terms. Use the way that they are talking so that they can discover you more easily.
Yeah, I think this is important, especially when you're replying to your customers. Twitter is all about conversation. So if your customers, being super casual and you respond very, very formal, they're gonna be like, oh, what is this? You want to start a normal, natural conversation.
And that's a good point, because the conversations you have on Twitter will then definitely inspire you to get a feel for how do your clients talk, how do they interact with each other, what words are they using, and then use that new knowledge of engagement to edit your bio.
Right. Because your audience doesn't want to think they're talking to a computer. They want to be talking to an actual person behind the company. So.
And they're just like, hey, I don't know what this thing means, right? Then, and if you can't help bridge that gap, then that can be an issue. So, cool.
And so some closing thoughts. It's these are just tips. The best bio you can write is one that is authentic to your brand and what you stand for. And so while it's great to dream to be the next Wendy's of Twitter, you don't have to be in order to write a quality bio. So sit down, go through these different tips, work through it with your team, and I'm sure that you'll come up with a great 160 characters.
Awesome. Thank you, Lila. Thank you, Ivana. So thank you guys for joining us for Social Media Help Desk. A couple of things that we've got coming up. Number one, we've actually got our video studio day here in Orange County coming up this Thursday. So if you're interested in getting some video shot, we have that. So check out our website for that. It's a low cost option. You come into our office, we shoot 4 videos for you, and they turn out really great. Also coming up in February, we have our social media bootcamp. I know we kind of mentioned that a couple times here. So that's where you can learn about Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube over the course of 4 weeks. It's every Friday in February. So also check out our website for that. There's some more information there. Until next week, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you later.